Yes, analytics and data science can beat the gut feeling of experienced professionals in supply chain. In this video, I will share with you a project that I have conducted at the beginning of my career that convinced me at that time to spend time and resources into learning analytics, data science, and AI. So my name is Samir. I'm a supply chain engineer. I've been doing that for the last 10 years. And at the beginning of my career, analytics and data science was not that trendy. Its biggest enemy was the gut feeling of experienced professionals. So for the context, in this project, I was working for 3PL that was managing the distribution of an international retailer with multiple warehouses in the country. So they were storing dry products that were delivered to super and hypermarkets. The issue was that some warehouses were doing very well in terms of profitability, while others were bleeding money. One in the south was doing minus 30% in terms of gross margin. So it was basically losing money every month. And while one in the north was doing extremely well. So the teams didn't understand why so much difference, where normally the management, the systems is supposed to be the same. There were multiple assumptions. One of them was probably that the price that was charged to the retailer was too low. And another one was pointing to the responsibility of the managers in the warehouse. So the site manager and the different operational managers for inbound, outbound, and storage. We tried to change them. We tried to train the team, but nothing worked. So that's why they contacted me. At that time, I was a supply chain solution manager to find the issues in the processes. So the first thing that I did is gather data. So I gathered financial reports. So on the monthly basis, looking at each cost line and compare it with the targets, comparing the ratios, for instance, of number of boxes per pallet that we receive, the productivities of operators versus what we have quoted, and also compare warehouse between each other to see what are the differences in terms of performance, right? Then I conducted a site visit. So in terms of cost, the fixed costs were fine. So the warehouse were not doing worse or better than the others, but the productivities, which is the main driver of the variable cost, was really, really bad. But the thing is, the warehouse had voice speaking. The teams were supposed to be trained, so we couldn't understand. Maybe it's a matter of process design, layout, we didn't know. But the first thing at that time I did was to extract data. I was starting to learn analytics and data science, so I wanted to play with the historical data and be the kind of a dashboard to understand the different flows inside the warehouse. So I extracted data from the WMS, and I start to calculate the ratios like the number of boxes per pallet inbound, the number of reference per truck that we receive, then the number of boxes per pallet outbound, the number of boxes per line where we pick. So all the different ratios that may influence the productivity. And what I discovered at that time was that the order profile was, 3 times worse than the others. So for instance, I give you an example. The number of boxes per pallet inbound for cross-dock was 3 times lower than what we have in the north. So for the same process, we had worse conditions in this warehouse. So for instance, one KPI that is very important is the number of boxes per line. It was 33%, so 1/3 of what we have in the north warehouse. So let me illustrate why this difference of number of boxes per order line is that much important. So let's imagine this is the warehouse. This is not the warehouse, it's just for me to illustrate, right? I will go to the top, right? And we have these two operators, right? They are preparing an order for supermarket. The supermarket ordered 2 different items, item A and item B. Item A is here and item B is here, right? So to prepare the order, they will both go to the first location, take the number of boxes that the supermarket ordered, then go to the second location, take the number of boxes that the supermarket ordered, and then go to the palletization, where the boxes will be put on pallet to be loaded in the truck. Now, let's imagine that for the first operator, the supermarket ordered 1 box per item. So he goes to the first location, take 1 box, then go to the second location, took 2 boxes, then he arrives here. Right? And let's imagine that it took him 1 hour, probably took less, but let's let's approximate, right? And let's imagine the second operator now prepares orders for the store, but now the store ordered 3 boxes per item. So he goes to the first location, takes 3 boxes, then go to the second location, takes another 3 boxes, and then go to the palletization. They walked the same distance and it took the same time, 1 hour for both. But the first operator only picked 2 boxes. So his productivity is 2 boxes per hour, while the second one picked 6 boxes. So his productivity is 6 boxes per hour, 3 times bigger than the first one. Imagine you do that at the level of thousands of orders in an extremely large warehouse. Now you understand why the difference of order profile is so important. So now coming back to this slide, you understand better what is the impact of these logistic ratios. The impact on the boxes per line in picking that I explained you using the SketchUp is the same for the number of boxes per pallet inbound. You know, you receive a pallet. For each pallet, you need to do some checks that take, for instance, 30 seconds. If you have 50 boxes per pallet, the time wasted for the check would be 30 seconds divided by 50, which is okay. But if you only have 25 boxes per pallet, then the impact on the productivity would be 2 times higher. And this is the same for many other processes where the team were trying to solve the issue with management, while actually the problem was order profile. And then what happened is that I started to benchmark these logistic ratios that are part of the contract versus what we had in the RFP. And the gap was huge. Why? To make it simple, a distribution center was supposed to absorb the flows of many suppliers. So the retailer should convince the suppliers to go through the DC. The problem is when a supplier goes through the warehouse, he has to pay a kind of a penalty, which is what they call like a rebate. And most of them didn't do. So the volumes were way lower than what we're expecting. In the end, this poor performance was not due to our management or our way to organize the operations. It was due to the customer mainly and the external factors. Everything would have stayed under the carpet if I didn't spend the time on analyzing the different logistic ratios. And here it was a basic analysis. Then we went deeper, comparing the evolution of logistic ratios, trying to find correlation with the drop in productivities. So that helped us to renegotiate with the customer. So the productivity is not always the fault of the logistic teams. I hope this project convinced you on spending the time on learning data science analytics. For that, you can go to supply-science.com. This is the web application that I have developed with my brother for the audience of this YouTube channel and my blog. And here you can test your skills with different types of quizzes. So you have the fundamental quizzes to test your skills in supply chain. And then you have some about AI and analytics, supply chain optimization. But if you want to learn analytics, you have also lessons. And you have 11 lessons for analytics, especially focusing on Python, but also VBA, deploy your app using Streamlit, analyze inventory management using Python. This is a more than 1 hour long video where we go from zero to a complete inventory management simulation tool using Python. At the end of the test, the tutorial, I give some tests with questions. I will put more questions, I think, on this one to test your skills after the tutorial. And you have examples all focusing on supply chain analytics, optimization, for manufacturing, planning, and distribution with logistics. If you have any question, feel free to use the comment section and see you for the next story.